Hey guys, before I begin the video, I just want to bring up the Save the Chessy campaign. For the people who don't know, the Cincinnati Scenic Railway is a group that operates both the Lebanon-Mason and Monroe Railroad and the Ohio Rail Experience, and is currently in the process of trying to raise $35,000 to save Chessy System / Baltimore and Ohio 6955 from getting scrapped. Currently, the engine is owned by National Railway Equipment and is in storage at their Silvis, Illinois facility. CSR needs to raise $35,000 to purchase the engine by October 31st, 2020, and if this goal is not met, 6955 will be scrapped as NRE plans on shutting down their Silvis, Illinois facility by the end of 2020. Anything left in the yard by then will be scrapped. Currently, as of the making of this video, August 29th, 2020, the campaign has raised $810, but hopefully by the time you guys see this video, the campaign will have more money. So, if you guys want to see the Chessy cat return to the main line, I highly suggest you go and donate now. The link to the Save the Chessy GoFundMe campaign will be linked down in the description box down below, so you can go check that out. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that. We'll now get on with the video. It's the afternoon of June 11th, 2020, and we are on the Columbus District, southeast of Chillicothe, Ohio, at the intersection of Three Locks Road and Sugar Tree Road / Road 197. On this day, former Norfolk and Western 2156, a Y6B 2882, was being towed back to St. Louis, Missouri. Back in 2014, the St. Louis Museum of Transportation and the Virginia Museum of Transportation made an agreement to have Norfolk and Western 2156, which is owned by the St. Louis Museum, transported back to its native home under a lease agreement. In the agreement, the St. Louis Museum would lend NNW 2156 to the Virginia Museum of Transportation for 5 years, and in return, they got EMD 103B, which is the B unit to the first ever EMD F unit ever produced, GM 103. Anyway, once the agreement was arranged, NNW 2156 was then towed by Norfolk Southern from St. Louis to Roanoke, where it arrived at the Virginia Museum of Transportation on May 12, 2015. The engine stayed there until yesterday on June 10, 2020. By then, the agreement had ran its course and it was time for the Y6B to return back to St. Louis. 2156 left that afternoon and had stopped in Bluefield, Virginia to spend the night. The next day, June 11th, it had spent the majority of the day running across the Canova District, and when it was nearing Portsmouth, Ohio, my dad, brother, and I decided to go out that afternoon to spend part of that day chasing 2156 as it went back to St. Louis across the Columbus District. As we were traveling south, we then came across this southbound intermodal train and decided to catch it. This was a pretty interesting intermodal train as it had 2 engines acting as DPU power on it. After the intermodal train got by us, we then drove down to the River Road / Road 52 railroad crossing south of Waverly, Ohio. We decided to wait here for Norfolk and Western 2156 to come by us. It didn't take too long before our second train then came up, with Reading 1067 on board. After this intermodal train came on by, a little later, we then saw a short northbound freight train come by the crossing. A little later, I then thought I heard engine noises coming from the CSX main line, which is the bridge down the road. I crossed the Norfolk Southern tracks to prepare to see the CSX train I thought was coming, only to realize that the engine noises I kept hearing were from a southbound Norfolk Southern grain train approaching the crossing. Once this grain train got by, the train we were waiting for then finally came up. Now the chase had begun. We then drove to the Road 22 bridge that crossed over the Scioto River and got to watch as the special train then crossed the Scioto River. After watching the train cross the bridge, we then drove to the Road 335 railroad crossing in Omega, Ohio. Unfortunately, that last spot we were at turned out to be the last spot we would see an NW 2156 in the daylight. During our time south of Waverly, Ohio, a problem had developed in this signal. This signal was stuck at restricting, which is yellow over red. The signal was supposed to be giving an all-clear signal, which would have been green over red. Thanks to this signal, traffic on the line ground to a halt. After a little while of waiting, a signal maintainer from Norfolk Southern finally came up to fix the signal here. After some time fiddling around with the signal, it finally turned to green, and it was back up and working. We then saw the headlights of a southbound manifest freight as it was approaching the crossing. With the signal now fixed, the traffic on the line got back to normal. Soon after the manifest freight got by us, our special train then came by the crossing. Although it was dark now, we decided to continue on with our chase. We then saw the train at the intersection of Three Locks Road and Sugar Tree Road / Road 197. To compensate for the lack of light here, we decided to angle our car towards the tracks. Once the lead engine got past us, we would then put the brights on to try and see more of NW 2156 as it came by us. Once the train passed us here, we then drove to the Southern Avenue / Road 188 railroad crossing south of Chillicothe, Ohio. Here, we got prepared to watch NW 2156 come by here, but as they were approaching the crossing, they came to a stop. Just after they came to a stop, a southbound grain train then came by on the other track. As the grain train continued to roll on by us, the train NW 2156 was on got started up again. By the time the grain train got by us, the special was up and gone. So, we then drove into town, where we saw 2156 again at the end of Rose Street, as it was just about to cross the Scioto River again. After the train got by us here, we then decided to make Circleville, Ohio our last spot of this chase. By the time we got up there, many people were gathered near the tracks to watch NNW 2156 as it came by. After some time of waiting, NNW 2156 finally came around the corner, ending our chase for the night. Four days later, on June 15th, 2020, 2156 would arrive back in St. Louis, Missouri, and as of today, it is now on display at the St. Louis Transportation Museum. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this chase of NNW 2156. This looks to be the only steam locomotive to hit the main line in 2020. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll be seeing you later.